How y'all doing? Welcome to Woodshed Antics. If it's your first time here, welcome. If you've been around a while and you continue to show up to support the channel, thank you from the bottom of my heart. As always, like, share, and subscribe. That helps to grow the channel and allows me to keep chasing this dream. Today we've got the panels. This is going to be the top of the pallet board. So we're to the point where we've got all this glued up. I've glued it up into two separate pieces just to make it easier to handle and to store. They're quite thin. That's how we're going to get the shape. But here's the preview of what the board's going to look like. It's a rough, it's still got to be sanded down and cleaned up, but we're close. So you'll get an idea of what it's going to look like, and we'll show you how we got to this point. This represents a ton of work and a ton of effort to get it to this point, and we're going to cover that in today's video. Alexa, turn on the dust collector.
Okay.
Okay, here's where we're at. My table is 12 feet long. The longest board is going to be 11 foot 4 with a couple of inches on either side, so roughly 12 feet. The trash board, this pallet board, is going to be an 11.2, which is an all-around, likely one of the all-around best boards, in my opinion. So this is going to be an 11.2. My hope is that I can take each one of these rows, set a uniform width, mill them down, split them in half or down to my 1/4 inch, and get two pieces out of each board. The problem is some of these are cupped so bad I don't know if I'm going to get two boards, which will just mean that we have to cut a couple more. If I can get the two boards that match out of it, then we'll end up with matched boards, which might look better than if we end up with unbooked backboard. It might be the worst case scenario and kind of look similar to this, but I've got some ideas on how to shake this up. And this is just a thought. I'm actually working through this with you right now about how the best way to do this is. So the next step, I think, is I have to get some square edges before I try to resaw. And so I'm just going to take one row at a time. I'm going to consider that one board. I'm going to set the width for the smallest of the boards, width-wise. Like this one, I think I'm going to kick out because it's got such a cup in it. I'm not sure that we're going to make it. Half of the board's good, the other half really isn't. So I think that's what the plan is. So we'll start ripping these down to the smallest boards. I'll put them in bundles. I'll number them so I know which is which. And then we'll start to resaw them. So, you know, your guess is as good as mine on how this is going to turn out, but here we go. I'm going to show you how I don't know how many people, probably most of you know it, but if you don't, you don't. I got to find my skinniest board. It's probably going to be one of those two, any one of those three. And we're going to go with this one being the skinniest board. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm not going to measure a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm going to come down here. This is a takeoff. This is a piece of a sheet. Now, if you look at it, it is actually pretty square. I'm not going to use my cut edges. The thickness of the plywood is what I'm going to use. And this is the hack I'm going to show you. So what I'm going to do is push this up here. I'm going to set this. I'm going to go just right off the get-go, the thickness roughly of the blade, right? I'm going to set my fence. I'm going to back this out a little bit. Now I'm going to, as I slide this through, this piece of plywood moves too, right? And what this is going to do is I know that this is uniform in thickness. It's going to square up this board if there's any crown on the board this way. Alexa, turn on the dust collector. So we'll see how this turns out. Alexa, shut off the dust collector. Alexa, turn off the dust. So if I lay that on my table, you can't see daylight through it. It's actually relatively square. I bet you the other side is too. It didn't really walk a lot off, but there is a big rough spot. So now on this side, I don't have to use that board again because I've already made one square edge. So I just go with the thickness roughly of the board and make sure I get it all. You hear how that wasn't cutting at the end, which means I just need to take a hair more. So that's the final thickness right there, and it looks like both sides are good. They're all gonna come down to this measurement right here at the end. But what I am going to do is I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna back this out, I'm gonna set this depth, and I'm gonna overshoot just the thickness of a blade is all my guesstimation is. Because I've already ripped this one down and I wanna leave that little bit of extra to allow me the room I need to cut that board. So we're gonna go ahead and rip the rest of these down and we'll go from there. One of these is not this one. Those two have a lot of color. And then those two have a lot of color. There's some of the things about this pallet wood is some of it's really red and some of it is pretty white. I don't know if I like the holes on the outside or the inside. I think the inside is what makes that. Those two pieces are could have been phenomenal together, but all right, so I've got everything that is essentially got a crack or a hole or a joint in it. I've got that taped up, and you know, I didn't have great success with it this morning, and I'm going to show you kind of the struggles that are going to go along. There's so many joints in these, the pallet wood. Normally, these would be continuous lengths of wood. You wouldn't have a joint running this way in it so often. So that makes this a challenge to move. And all I'm doing now is taping up all the holes. I don't want the glue to bleed through and glue it to the table. So I'm just going through and fixing up some of those. Now this is going to be the top. The bottom is going to be the other side. The other reason is because I'm going to hot glue a lot of these holes to keep whatever wood filler or sealer we use from penetrating through it. And this tape will help hold that hot glue flat and not allow it to bubble up on the other side of the table and then cause me to have to come back and try to dig it out. At least that's the theory. So about half the table, that's what we're going to flip right now. So if I come down here and there's no really good way to do this. It's just going to have to go over. Joints are likely going to fall apart, and I'm likely going to have to retape some of it, and that's okay. We're going to go for it though. And it helps. It would really help to have someone here to help me. I do not have that here currently. I'm the only one home, but so I'm going to tell you right now, 100% better than this morning. This morning I was likely a bit lackadaisical in my approach. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sliding this. Like I know that's coming apart. It's not going to make it. So what I'm going to do is put a piece of tape on it right now. Try to address that from falling apart. right off the get-go. Then I can come back and put some hot glue on some of this. But here we go. I'm going to show you how I go about gluing this together. Let me grab a plate, paper plate. I'm going to put some glue on. I'm going to grab my glue brush and we're going to get after it. Great job. Left some nasty glue in there, but that's all right. Instead of using a paper plate today, I used a paper plate this morning, but I'm going to use a Dixie cup or a plastic cup, solo cup, because I pushed the glue around on the plate because I was just pouring a little bit. And as I pushed it around on the plate, it caused it to dry. Now I just poured about an inch. This is Titebond 3. This is the waterproof stuff. That's the reason I'm using it. Obviously, paddleboard's waterproof. Now I'm just going to take this, I'm going to slide this until this seam falls off the edge and bends down like that. Now I'm going to glue that seam. I'll try to adjust the camera so you can get a good look at what I'm up to. And I'm hoping you can see all this, but that edge is bent over the table now. Yep, and I'm just going to start with this paintbrush and we're going to glue it as best as we can. Like I said, I put about an inch of glue in the cup. I'm just going to go through here. I'm not terribly worried about the glue. We're going to come through and sand all this. So I'm not, like, if this was going to be one of the pretty boards, I would have already sanded each of these boards individually. And this glue wouldn't stick as well and we'd be able to wipe it all off at the end, but it is all still rough cut. Just because resawing so many short boards on your bandsaw presents a challenge, because if there's any variation in the boards, it's going to be noticeable. So the thought is that I'm going to go ahead and put this all together and then do a final sand to try to lay everything down together before we put these on the rockers. But as you can see, this just takes a minute. Putting plenty of glue down in this joint. Now, if you had one of those syringes with the big needles, like a baster, like almost like a turkey baster, where you could lay a bead of glue down, that would probably be a lot faster. This being the first one, I haven't gone and got one. I don't know if it'll be better. I've never used one to push glue, so maybe throw in the comments, have you pushed glue through one of them giant syringes they use for glue ups for these joints like this? I can tell you, but the amount of tape that I used this afternoon is 100% easier. This morning I had boards falling off. That's why I went by and put the tape on the ends of these, especially these little ones. And I ended up using a lot more hot glue because the boards just kept falling apart. So I'm hoping that A, we're getting better at what we're doing, and B, we're making all the mistakes we need before we start on the fancy boards. I kind of called this board the trash board. It's a pallet board, and it kind of is the trashier of the boards, but what a great way, in my opinion, to jump right in and learn on something that, A, it didn't cost us a bunch of money, so we can make mistakes. And B, at the end of the day, if it floats and it rows, I'm all right with it, right? So now I'm going to push this back up over the edge. Let me spin you back out here and zoom out so you can see. But I'm going to push this back over the edge so I get a good seal, and I'm going to tighten up all this. Now would be a good time if you had nice boards and wanted to wipe this all down, to wipe off that excess glue. What I'm going to do is come in here. I'm going to go over the edge. I'm going to slide this up. I'm going to go over the edge about an inch and roll that tape around so that it catches. I don't want it to come off, right? This is glued. and I want it to stay put. So again, here, I'll try to get a close-up of this edge. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over this edge right here, tear my tape off here, gently pick up on this board, putting a little pressure and tucking that over. It's gonna help hold that on and not pop off. The problem with this paper tape is that it doesn't, it's not gonna tear off any wood fiber. It's paint tape and it's made to be removed, so it's not like this super aggressive tape. So it does want to fall off at times. So then the next step is rinse and repeat, right? But I'm going to come out here to this next joint right there. And the closer you can get this to 90, the less of this back up bow you'll get, and it'll lay down nice. I wasn't able to do this morning. This didn't hang like this. These boards would fall off. I would have to hot glue. I think this is the approach. Everything's looking good, so we'll go ahead and get some glue on this joint now. But I'll time lapse it and you guys can kind of follow along.